Good evening, everyone. I hope you are having a fantastic day. My name is Latricia Griffin, and I am here with you today for our first open session of the month. I hope you all had a fantastic day. I hope that today's information is beneficial to you to help you to grow in your finances. And as you see, we are discussing setting financial goals, and then a review of POC stewardship, which is a free community to help people to grow in their finances with the opportunity for group coaching and individual coaching. And so we're going to go ahead and get started by first opening with a word of prayer. And so, if you could, please be sure to share this with your friends and family. And all you have to do is click that share button. And if you are live here on the Zoom, you can share that link with them that was sent to you. So we are going to go ahead and get started and open up with a word of prayer. Let us pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day. We thank you for your many blessings, for covering and protecting us, God. Lord, I just ask that you will enter into this space, God. May it be pleasing in your sight, Lord. Bless each person who is on this call, whether they're catching this live on the replay, Lord, and pray that it is beneficial to their growth. We thank you and we love you. We give you honor, praise, and glory. In Jesus' name, amen. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with today's conversation. First, I want to share with you that I understand the things that you may be going through. I want to share with you a little bit about, who I am and my past and how, I have been in a space to be able to help you all today. And so I'm going to start off with going back to my freshman year. When I was a freshman in college, I learned that um, I learned one thing mainly. My parents said, please make sure you pay your bills on time. And when I got my first job, they told me, hey, this bill is yours. And that was great. That was great advice, but it wasn't necessarily the best advice. And so what ended up happening between my freshman and sophomore year, I had over $500 in overdraft fees, and it was a lot. It was challenging, and to the point where I was even spending close to $100 of Wendy's in a month, and I was just like, man, like Latrice, how did you end up like this? How did you end up like this? Because one, I consider myself to be, a little smart, but I was just like, how can it be that I can't even balance my checkbook? How can I not even keep up with the money? But I want you to know that you may not have had overdraft fees, but you may have asked yourself that question, like, where's my money going? Why am I always running out of money? Like pay period comes and I'm always running out of money closer to the end of the paycheck, a week before, 3 days before, I'm always running out of money. And then I can never do anything that I enjoy or love. The only thing that I feel like I'm able to do is pay bills. But the reality is that right now, here in October of 2025, you may not have reached your goals this year. And so this is a time for us to reflect and understand that, you may feel a little guilty about not reaching your goals. You may feel like I haven't been consistent enough. I haven't been consistent enough in order to reach my goals. And so now I'm just wondering what do I need to do to accomplish this? And it's possible that you just may need a reset because your resources have all been tapped out and you do not know what else to do. And this is why I want to talk to you about the value of setting financial goals and the system for you to set your goals and then the key to increase your success. And so these three things that we discussed today will help you to make progress on your goals this year. All right, let's type this year in the chat. We don't want to wait until next year. We want to do this year. And so I have two verses for you. The first verse is Proverbs 16:3. commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Proverbs 16 and 3. And then the second one, in their hearts, humans plans their course, but the Lord established their steps. And this is Proverbs 16:9, and this is the New Living Translation for both. And so, although it is really important for us to make plans, I want to give you the first rule of thought is that even if you have those plans, you still want to include God in the process, especially if you're a person of faith. If God is who is the head of your life, then you want to be sure to commit that to the Lord. But I want to tell you that, again, like I said, we want to do this year. So it's not too late for us to make that progress. It's not too late for us to make a shift. There's always time to make a shift. You don't have to wait until the end of the year. It just may be time to do some reevaluation. And so when I realized that $500 in overdraft fees, $100 towards Wendy's, when I realized that this was going on, I made a change and I said, okay, this is what I need to do. I need to get a better understanding of what's going on with my finances. So I went through this journey of like just doing better about balancing my checkbook. Now I'm doing the thing that I was taught, which was paying my bills on time. That's happening. I'm not really having overdraft fees. But then I made another poor decision. That poor decision was during my sophomore junior year, and I had an internship and I had two apartments in my name. And during that time, because I had two apartments in my name, even though I was making close to $20 a month or a little bit over $20 a month, I spent the entire month paying bills. It was week one rent, week two rent, week three paying rent, paying utilities at another location, and then went week four at the second apartment paying the utilities for nothing for those for that location. And so I learned something. It's not just enough to pay bills on time. That's not enough. I was doing that and I was unhappy. I wasn't doing the things that mattered the most to me. And so, again, just paying bills on time, it wasn't enough for me to feel secure in my financial future. And this is why it's so important for us to set goals and have clarity when it comes to our goal setting. The reason why we want to have value in setting our goals is because it will give you clarity. It will help you to focus. It will be your guide to this to help you decide, what you need to do. And then lastly, it reduces confusion because I was clearly confused and not knowing what I needed to do when I was a 20-year-old having two apartments in my name and not being able to afford it. And so what I want to let you know is that by learning to be clear on my financial goals, I began to see step by step, more freedom at each step of the way. And so, what I want to share with you tonight is my system of how I set financial goals. Remember, I wasn't setting financial goals when I was had the overdraft fees. I wasn't setting financial goals when I just said I want to be able to balance my paycheck, balance my checking account. That wasn't enough. I needed to do more. And so, throughout my time in growth and development, I developed a system called the PSC system. The PSC system is very simple. We got to know where we're going to start or where we're headed, rather. So we have to have a destination. This is our future. We have to know our setup. Where are we currently? Where are you today? Because if you don't know where you are, then you definitely don't know how you're going to get there. The next, we have our plan. This is our system. How will you get there? What mode of transportation? Some people drive cars, some people get on the train, some people get on the plane. How will you get there? And then lastly, stewardship is your ownership. How will you take accountability? It's not enough to just draft a plan. You also have to execute it. So as we start and we talk about this, first thing we're going to talk about is startup. So put startup in the chat. Startup in the chat. Good, good. I see it. So startup in the chat. So the first thing that we are doing is we are taking consideration of where we want to be in the future. So, what is it that you want to achieve right now? What are you striving to achieve right now in your life? What is it that you are wanting more out of your life? Have you really taken time to reflect on that? And by what date? And because if you put into picture, like it would be great that by the time that I am 40, I'm able to accomplish this. But by the time I'm 45, I'm able to accomplish that. And so, yes, you may have this idea of what you want to achieve, but you also have to ask your question of why is this important? Engage your senses. What would your life be like if you were to achieve that goal? What would your life be like if you were able to accomplish this thing that you desired? And having this in mind, it allows us to see, okay, this is why we're doing this. It's not just me paying my bills off. Like this is creating a space where I'm able to see my future because it's allowing me to see my life in a better place, in a better space. And then lastly, does it align with your stewardship mission statement? And so if this is your first time being introduced to me, you may not know what a stewardship mission statement is. This is literally thinking of the overflow version of yourself. If you were blessed and highly favored and were able to live the life that God had lived out to your calling, what type of person will you be with that? And that's what we want to think about. And so it's not enough for us to think of the goal. We need to make sure that it actually is in alignment with who we are actually becoming in our lives. It's a setup. Because, like I said, it is extremely important for you to actually know where you are starting from. That is your setup point, right? Your setup point is current. Where am I currently to reach that goal? If you don't know your starting point, it's going to be really hard for you to figure out what is the gap. What will it take for me to reach that goal? You want to be specific. And so if you're thinking of, okay, I would like to have 2 months of expenses, do you know the total amount of expenses that you need to have in your savings account? Or are you just saying that because you heard it on TV or in a book or whatever it may be? You want to be specific so you can have the number. And then the last two questions is more of personal reflection because there are things that about you that are part of your makeup that allow you to thrive, that allow you to be great. And we want to utilize those strengths, right, to help you to reach your goal. So what are my strengths that I can lean into? What do I have that's going to help me to reach that goal? Because a lot of times we are so focused on the things that we do not have that we don't understand that there is true value that is on the inside of us. And then lastly, the last question, what are the weaknesses I need to prepare for? Because we also know there are things in areas that we're not as strong. So if you already know that you're not a morning person, if you already know that I get really frustrated when I'm hungry, if you already know that when when me and my spouse, when we have the most tension is because we're not on the same page with finances. If we already know those things, then we need to be prepared for that so that we can still accomplish our goal. Our weaknesses are not an excuse not to complete our goals. Okay? I'm going to say that again. Our weaknesses are not an excuse not to complete our goals. And so now we've put in a destination. We've said, okay, this is where I want to be. That is our startup. That's the future. All right. And then the setup is where are we currently? Who am I today? Who do I know that I am that is going to allow me to get to this goal? And then next, now it's time to put the system in place. What will I do to get there? So if you're putting a numerical amount on this goal and it is 10,000, 5,000, 1,000, what is the amount that I need to save? What is the amount I need to pay per month, per paycheck in order to reach that goal? We must do a better job of not just saying, I want this big goal, but how am I going to implement this into my life? Because if we just put that big goal out there and not allow it to fit into my budget, then how in the world is this going to be accomplished? And so when you figure out what that number is, how much you're going to add to your paycheck, then now you have to go back and look at your budget. Okay, I know I want to complete that goal. Yes, I may have a goal of $10,000. And if we're talking about the month of December when you're trying to achieve that goal, that means that we need to have, if we start November, that's 5,000 in November, 5,000 in December. Can you add $5,000 to your budget right now? Like, seriously, can you do that? And some people may, and that's great. But if your answer is yes, great, move forward. But if it's no, go back, start, and reset that goal. Keep going back and forth until you find a number that you can actually afford. Now, this is not saying that you won't have to do things in order to make it happen. But we do want to be realistic of what's actually happening in our lives. You can dream, right? But we also need to be very aware of what we are capable of doing. All right. So we have the future that we're striving for. Now we're going current, right? We see where we are and where we're trying to go. Now we have the plan of how we're going to get there. And this is the part like people do well. Like, oh man, I'm gonna do great. I'm gonna go work out, 3 times a week. I'm gonna make sure I save $50 a month. Yes, it fits in my budget. I'm gonna be able to do all the things, and you have this plan is written out perfectly. It's in color, it's color coded, all the different things. It looks great on paper. But now it's time for us to take ownership and be a steward, to be a steward of the process. Because it's not enough to have it on paper. You have to implement the plan. It's not enough to have it on paper. You have to implement the plan. So by taking ownership, you're asking these questions. How often will I track the progress? How will I know if I'm doing this well? How will I know that I'm not doing this well? Who will keep me accountable throughout this process? Because we can always say, oh, I just changed my mind, and then just leave it be because no one else knows it. And then lastly, when will I evaluate again? Because you have to take the time to say, okay, yes, over a 90-day period, over a month, whatever that time frame is, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to adjust in order to either A, continue on this path, B, change the path, whatever that looks like. But those are the two options. What do I need to continue? What do I need to change? And changing may be a different goal. Changing may be adding more. Changing may be adjusting less. There's a lot of ways that you can change. But you have to put these things in place because you're taking ownership in the process of saying, this is what I will do to accomplish that goal. And so, again, by increasing like the key parts of this, because earlier I told you that we're going to talk about the keys, right? The keys to making this happen. You increase your chance of success when you review weekly. That's what I've learned for myself because you're allowing yourself to adjust during the process, not after. Because if we wait until December 31st, then we're going to be irritated with ourselves for the entire year. But if we do it now, if we look at it again in 2 weeks, if we look at it again at the beginning of November, you have time to adjust and adapt. And then you're going to create the accountability, have the people in your circle who is aware. I encourage you to tell someone that you trust about your goal. Now you may be saying, Latricia, like that's all good, but you may not know what it's really like. But I will tell you, remember I was telling you about my apartment experience? This was the day that my parents found out about that apartment experience. I kept everything to myself. A lot of my friends didn't even know like what I was really struggling with. I was figuring it out. And I did have a couple of people who knew some of the things that were going on, but for the most part, they really didn't know. but my parents found out that day. And so I learned that it was through me being vulnerable and allowing people into my process that allowed everything to excel. When I started being more open, it opened up more opportunities. When I started being more open, I was able to prepare myself not only for what was going on currently in my life, to be able to travel, to be able to do all these different things, from $500 in overdraft fees to being able to meet my husband, to being able to get married within a year, to be able to purchase our home in the first year of our marriage. None of those things would have been possible if I chose to do things by myself. And so, again, I want to remind you, here we are in this space to understand that, yes, we want to set financial goals. Yes, we want to be better with our finances, but we need to know where our future is. We need to know where we are today. We need to have a plan in place that we're going to implement. And lastly, we can't leave our plan on paper. We have to implement it and take ownership in this process so that we can be accountable for the things that we want to do. And so, here, what I want to tell you is that in this space, I want to let you know that it is really hard to try to do this by yourself. And so this is why I have this mission. Like, my personal mission, a part of this, my business, is to help Christians align their faith and their finances so they can stop the money stress, so they can walk in unity and build a strong foundation for a life of freedom and generosity. And this is what PLC stewardship is. Because it's not just impacting your budget, it's impacting your life. Your life is your budget, and your budget is your life. Most of the stress I had in my life circled around finances or some conduit of finances. I was irritated because I couldn't do this. I was irritated and it created discord in my life. But as soon as I got better in my finances, I noticed freedom in other areas too. That's not saying that if someone just put a pile of money in front of you, that it wouldn't create peace. Yes, it may help for a moment, but if you can't manage $50, you can't manage 5,000. Everything is multiplied with money. And so to be a steward, you are utilizing and managing the resources God provides for his glory of God and the betterment of his creation. So when we become better stewards, we are allowing God to really activate everything in our lives. God, I have done the best that I can do with what I have. Anything that's beyond that, God, will you please take care of that, please? I'm doing my part. I'm not being I'm being the lender, not the borrower. I'm not owing anybody on anything. I'm doing all these things, God, but life keeps happening, God. Will you help me? God is so excited when we do our part, and that is his invitation to do the rest. Not saying that there isn't grace and mercy. That's beautiful. But there's also blessings in us being obedient as well. And so within PUFC stewardship, there are a lot of resources that are available to you. There are free resources and it creates community. But I want to share with you tangible success that's happened within this community. Since this community started in June 2024, we've been able to save $27,000 towards future expenses. We've been able to pay towards debt 86,000, ready to hit the 87,000 mark. 33 debts have been paid off in the last year and what year and 4 months. And then this is with 16 people participating. And so I want you to take the time to think about, do I really want to do this alone? Or do I want to have help and support on the way? Because on your tough days when you're saying, I don't want to do this anymore, I'm so tired, I'm irritated, would it be nice to have people in your life that you can call and support on, who lean into and say, hey, it's a tough day, and they can immediately pray for you. They can say it's going to be okay. Hey, it's just tough right now, but we'll get through the next part. And this is what community does for you. So I wanted to encourage you to take the moment to set a goal for this year. Don't wait until 2026 to start. It's not too late. You can start setting that goal right now. Decide when you're going to review. Decide when you're going to reflect. Decide when you're going to say, okay, I need to make an adjustment. And if you're a part of the community, complete your check-ins because I want to know your goals too. And then if you are were invited here and you want to be a part of this community, I encourage you to sign up for a consultation or sign up for the group coaching. And so within this platform, I want to let you know that there are resources that are available to you just for being a part of the group. For being a part of the group, you get access to the first days of my devotional, these open sessions like the one you're a part of tonight. And then you have access to a free consultation and the weekly check-in document as well. And so that's just for participating. Nothing else that you have to do to be a part of that. But if you really want to be intentional and take it to the next level, you can sign up for the paid services as well, which would include group coaching, individual coaching, budget work sessions, dedicated group me. And I know this list may seem like a lot, but this is just to let you know that there is so much that is offered to you, and you do not have to do this alone. I don't want you to do it alone. I tried it, and it was not healthy for me, and I don't want you to experience that. So it's been my pleasure to be with you this evening. I'm going to stop the recording and open the floor up if anyone has any questions. It's been my pleasure to be with you today. And so yeah, so that's all I have. And thank you so much for your time. And I'll talk to you out soon.
I do got a question.
Hold on one second. I pressed the wrong button.